and there's only really one team in it, despite the fact that the Scarlets on the board first through a long-range Leigh Halfpenny penalty, but the power game from the home side has been too hot for the visitors to handle. Fergus McFadden with a really industrious first 40. His wide break eventually providing the position for James Ryan to plunder his way over. Power though, wave after wave of blue forwards on the attack, and Cian Healy not to be denied from a couple of metres out. Scarlets just about keeping in touch through that boot, but then as Ireland did time and time again in the Six Nations this year, scoring in injury time Leinster, and that has opened up a 15-point half-time lead, but potentially at the expense of the try score of Fergus McFadden. So 24-9 the half-time score. In terms of the tail of the tape, Shane, what is that telling you?
Listen, Leinster aren't home and hose, but they're not far off. Look at those metres made, 182. Gain, like I said, 43 against 14. Carry 66 against 43. It's a totally dominant performance from Leinster. You're right to say the power game. You know, we thought there'd be advantage out wide for Leinster. To some degree there has, but they haven't had to do it. Scarlets have put in a really strong wall in. They're using their number 9 in the wall, so they have an extra number. They're actually not putting that many into rucks either. So there's a huge red wall across the park, but they still can't stop the power game of Leinster.
I can tell you that these two are much happier than you were with about a couple of minutes to go before kick-off when the nerves are around. But as the first 40 minutes goes, I mean, Leinster have done everything they needed to, haven't they?
Yeah, we knew Leinster were going to be pragmatic, control possession, but have 70% plus possession was just outside their wildest expectations. Yes, there is the power game there, Shane, but I think one of the other things is decision making. They aren't taking any risk. It's one-out rugby, good, hard, flat passes. They're running on. I think Gibson Park has given a lot of fizz onto the ball and given them that extra yard or two to hit the gain line. And on that, they're just the experience and the patience then when it is time to spread it wide, and they've done that. A couple of little errors inside their own 22 half, but other than that, very impressive.
Let's have a look at the James Ryan try. Brilliantly worked off the lineup. But one or two question marks over try yes or no when I went to the TMO.
Yeah, but this initial piece of work was brilliant. Used the extra man Dan Levy in, great decoy runner, sat down Davies out wide, and then there was a very big carry there by Fergus McFadden. He did well to stay in touch. Another little couple of yards made, and then the ball comes to Ryan, who does really well. You think literally he's held up. I think actually Owens affects the second tackle. No, he isn't initially held, but I actually think Owens gets on top of him here. We see, I think that's holding him, and then he drives more than his outstretched hand. I think he was lucky to get away with a double movement. You know, as the game has gone on, it has become less important, but you know, if only for the build-up work to that, it was almost worthy of a try.
Absolutely, and it's not just James Ryan who has plundered his way over, because of course Cian Healy has done likewise. Let's join Scotty on the gain line to look at this one.
Yeah, he certainly has. When you have a look at the way Leinster have come out, they've controlled and they've had a huge amount of power in that short game, the short runs in and around the corner, but they've made great decisions. They put the Scarlets on the back foot to get into those positions, to be able to create the pressure. We'll have a little look here. This one came from the kick. Now we have a look here. We know Johnny Sexton, he's having a little look up. You've got Steph Evans, you've got Patchell, full back, your left winger there on the left-hand side. They know Gareth Davies is on the far wing. He's going to turn, but have a look at the sun. The way the sun is coming, it's right in his eyes, puts him under a huge amount of pressure. Now that's not luck, that's what they do week in, week out. And then it was the power in and around the corner. Now have a look, Dan Jones gets himself into a good position here. He's a little bit wide, but have a look at Fardy. Fardy is going to come in, he's going to cut that and allow Cian Healy to come round the corner, and he's going to score the try. So it's not all about the power, it's not all about the pace. The top 3 inches are very good for Leinster this afternoon as well.
Yeah, that power game really highlighted by the fact we've had a second row and the loose head scoring. But the Fergus McFadden score, where did this come from? How beautifully constructed was it?
Yeah, again, it was pressure building, and then having the awareness when they can do it. But it's all the hard charge, and not just the ball carriers, the work rate to get and clear out. And clear out has been very impressive by Leinster, as good as I've seen them in many seasons. And that's what's allowing it and getting full momentum. And look at his pass. They had the numbers sucked in. McFadden holds his pace. It's very unfortunate he got injured. He's had such a good game, not only finishing like that, but also He's getting across the gain line earlier on. He's a great power runner as well. And look at that, beautiful finish, and just very unfortunately picked up an injury there.
So microcosm of what Leinster are doing well right the way through this half. Ferocious at ruck time, really unbelievable. Scarlets haven't been able to get their ground game going at all. And look at every time a Leinster player takes the ball into contact, look at the fight to get that presentation, to get the ball back. Even though when it looks like a little bit risky and the Scarlets might be on it, that extra reach of the arm buys an extra half a second, which is the reason why Leinster have retained so much possession.
And they have the capacity here to pile on the agony for their opponents. There it is. Sexton the man. What an effort for the European game. This performance is from Leinster. And they now know that celebration cruising. Big smiles all around Dublin, as you would expect, as the afternoon sunshine just begins to dim. But my word, that was quite something from your old side. Was it more dominant in many ways than perhaps you could have hoped or and certainly expected pre-game?
Absolutely. I was thinking there could be one score in it at the end. The Scarlets were very disappointing. Your supporters were saying men and boys, and it did look like that in the physical collisions. But I thought Leinster were just ultimately they were so simple the way they played the game, so clinical the way they did it, and it's the blueprint they went about, but also spatial awareness. They kept punching it up the middle, they got their momentum going and spread it wide when they need to, but what was most encouraging was in the second half when they saw there was no one in behind the ruck, pick and go, and it got them another couple of tries. A very clever side, very experienced, and they know how to win cups. They have to be favourites, I think, no matter what happens tomorrow going into that final.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the tries that Leinster scored this afternoon. 5 in all. And, I mean, we heard it in commentary, we talked about it at half-time. The power game throughout was just too hot for the Scarlets to handle.
Yeah, it wasn't, a lot of them weren't dissimilar in the way they came about, punching. Sometimes, punching leading to the bit of extra width, which they did here. Sometimes, as with the first try, that there was the bit of width put on it, and then punching in tight again. But what it was a real counteraction to what the Scarlets wanted Leinster to do. They fanned out, they put an extra man of 9 in the line, and they tempted Leinster to play the wide game and that contact game with the loops that we've seen from Johnny Sexton so often. Leinster refused to get sucked into that. They didn't do it, and they said, we were going to bull you, and it was probably the most bullying performance I've ever seen from a Leinster side.